Welcome everyone to today's 3D Solutions Spotlight from Hawkridge Systems. My name is Jordan and I'm the PDM Product Manager for Hawkridge Systems. And today what we're going to be talking about is what's new in SOLIDWORKS 2017 with the data management tools, particularly SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional and Standard, what the new features are for SOLIDWORKS PDM in 2017. And for me in particular, as the PDM Product Manager, I'm really excited about a few of these, particularly as it relates to Pro. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the new features and enhancements that have been added. We'll kind of jump back and forth between the features, kind of describe them a little bit, and for the ones that are relatively straightforward or easy to show, I'll go ahead and show those, and then other ones I can just make a note of as well. So we're going to cover quite a bit of material today, a lot of the what's new features, and then we'll jump into essentially my top 5. So what we'll cover today is PDM Standard and Professional enhancements. So these are features that have been added that apply to both Standard and Professional versions of the software, and then we'll talk about the PDM Professional only enhancements. So PDM Professional has automated tasks and open API and web server, and so there's some new features as it relates to those. Also with vault database replication, which is a really important thing for customers that have a remote location in China, for example. And then I'll kind of summarize what we've covered with my top 5 PDM enhancements for 2017, essentially all new features that I think are really powerful and the most effective. So we'll cover in this upcoming section all of the new features that are going to apply to both Standard and Pro within the UI and feature set. So one of the first things that they added was custom columns. So this was a feature that was rolled out in 16 and 15 in different areas, and now it's been added to the full UI of SOLIDWORKS PDM, including change state. We'll talk about that. Being able to copy groups, essentially if you have an existing group and you want to copy the users or the permissions that are in that group for a new group, kind of a new group based on an existing one, you can copy those permissions using the copy permissions and copy group. Latest version overwrite, so if you make a bunch of changes to a file and you don't want to create a new version of that file, you just want to keep going with the same version that you're on without creating a bunch of duplicate versions for all those in-between changes. This is particularly suitable for customers that are making a lot of changes, or you're checking in every day and you don't need a version for every day. This is a useful feature for that. Preview enhancements. This is basically a way to kind of clean up your browsing interface within Windows Explorer. And reference tree enhancements. So this is changing a little bit of the behavior of how the drawings, for example, show up in your dialog boxes, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Rolling back a file with references, so if you've ever rolled back a file with a bunch of references, you'll know that when you do the rollback, you roll back that file, but you will have to go back in and change the references later. This feature allows you to roll back a file and roll back its references and repoint the references as well, which is really useful. Searching for local files, this is for users that are working a lot in the work offline mode, and this allows you to kind of find those files so that you can add them to the vault more easily. And then a big one is client and server service pack compatibility. So this means that you can upgrade the server, so if there's a new feature in SP3 or 4, or if there's a new update that you want to apply, bug fix or feature or whatever it is, you can upgrade the server without having to go and upgrade all of the clients from SP0 to SP1 to 2. So it makes it a lot easier on IT, on the administrator, depending on who's in control of updating those. So that's a really useful one that I'm a big fan of. So let's jump into adding custom columns. So what does it mean when I say adding custom columns? Well, previously in SOLIDWORKS PDM, you could, when you have a file that you're checking out or checking in, you were able to add customized columns. So if you had additional fields like a description or a revision that you wanted to be able to see within the checkout dialog box, you could add those custom columns by right-clicking in the checkout dialog box and selecting the variable that you want to be displayed. So if I wanted to add the description in there, because I don't know what this file is, I can add the description and add that into my checkout dialog box. The one limitation with that was that in the change state dialog, that wasn't available in previous versions, but with 2017 they added that ability within the change state dialog. So for example, if I wanted to add description into change state or the revision, I can do that now with SOLIDWORKS 2017. SOLIDWORKS PDM 2017, that is. So that's custom columns. Copying group permissions and group members. This is a useful tool if you're trying to reuse a group and the settings that it has for maybe another division that you want to have similar permissions, but you don't want to go through and set up all the folder permissions. So for example, if I have an engineering group and I'm just adding in a new engineering group from another division, and maybe I'm based in Seattle but we have a division in Ohio, how do I add that engineering group with their own specific permissions that are different but similar? Well, in 2017, what I can do is take existing groups and copy those permissions. So when you go into create a new group, maybe this is new engineering group, I have an option that says copy permissions, similar to what you have with a user where you can copy the permissions. So I can say, hey, I want to copy the permissions of the engineering group and maybe some of the members. So new engineering group now has the same members as it did as the engineering group itself, and then it copies those permissions as well. So if you're creating new groups, this is a really useful tool to kind of save time, especially if there's very particular set of folder permissions for that new group. Latest version override. This is a big one, especially if you're moving from workgroup to SOLIDWORKS PDM. The concept that there was in workgroup of a working copy where you're not updating a version of the file or revision as it's called in workgroup. You just keep updating the same version, and then once you're done, you release it. And this is also particularly important for users that are making a lot of changes and checking in and out quite a bit. This latest version overwrite allows you to overwrite the previous version, and just let's say that you're working with version 7, and instead of checking in and creating a version 8, you keep overwriting version 7 until you're ready to commit that to the database. And so maybe a week's worth of work is stored as version 8 rather than version 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all the way through the week. So that's a new feature that's available as well. You'll see that listed in permissions. It's not going to by default give that permission to users when you upgrade, so you don't have to worry about users accidentally overwriting stuff. You can give that out as an admin, saying overwrite latest version during check-in, and that will allow the user to continue working with the same version of the file. So that option will be displayed so that, let's say that I'm making a change to an existing file. I go to check it in. One of the options that I have now is overwrite latest version. So currently I have version 2 checked out. I click overwrite latest version, and it continues with version 2. It just overwrites that previous version. So this allows you to keep working with the same version of the file over and over until you're ready to actually commit a new copy of that file to the database. I would be careful with this. I wouldn't give this permission out without giving some instructions to users so that they're not accidentally overwriting files. You can also access this through the through workflows, for example. So if you have a workflow that's creating a lot of maybe 2 or 3 versions because it's updating some variables and just the automation that you have set up, this can reduce the number of copies of files that are being created via the workflow itself. So sometimes there's some extraneous versions that get created in between the updates, and being able to access overwrite latest version will reduce that overhead moving forward. So that's a cool new feature. Help maintain some of the space on the server hard drive for sure. Another one, small one, is preview enhancements. And what this is talking about is within the SOLIDWORKS PDM interface, when you go to the preview window, you'll usually see the SOLIDWORKS file that you can go ahead and rotate and move around. You'll notice that in this version, the icons have been updated, and there's also an explode option as well in the preview window. But one of the things that I want to take a look at here is this data card preview, where it shows you the properties of the file, the data card properties right next to the eDrawings file. What you can do to make that just an eDrawings or just a preview down below without having to see this data card is there's an option now under display where it says card preview, and if I deselect that, it makes the preview window just the SOLIDWORKS file or the drawing or whatever it is, and it removes that data card visibility on the right hand side, so it gives you the full preview within that data card, or the preview tab. So being able to adjust that and not have to see that set of data card properties is a nice little feature as well. Reference tree display enhancements. This is better explained with a picture. So what this does is you can see what the reference tree looked like in SOLIDWORKS PDM 2016. So if you had, let's say, a drawing that was being referenced by a couple different assemblies, in this case, this drawing in 2016, there's a limit mechanism that is the drawing associated with the cam wheel. And so it shows that subparent above it. It's also a drawing that's associated with the cam wheel SOLIDWORKS part. And so being able to see that the drawing is related to both of these parts, it kind of just breaks out the drawing so you know which parts are actually related to it rather than it being summarized all at the top. You can see each individual part that is contributing to that SOLIDWORKS drawing in PDM 2017. Another big one is rolling back a file with references. So this is a big one. If you've ever used rollback, especially if you have a large assembly tree that has a lot of different references, maybe somebody accidentally approved a drawing and it had 100 components. Previously, what you would have to do in order to get those files to roll back is you'd have to roll back each one individually. Well, and sometimes you'd also have to repoint the references as well to previous versions of the file. In 2017, they added some capabilities into the rollback feature. So when you go to roll back a file, let's say I needed to roll this back to revision A, go through the warning. What I can do now, let me go ahead and check this back in. So I'll take an assembly, go to the history, try and roll this back. And so what I can do is say, hey, I want to roll this back, and I want to roll these back as well to revision A. And so it rolls all of those references back, and I can redirect parent references to this file. So if I go ahead and roll back to Rev A, it'll tell me which parent files are referencing it and which versions those are referencing, and I can go ahead and roll it back. So it's rolled back to Rev A, and if I take a look at the assembly, let's take a look at revision. So it rolls back that reference to the Rev A reference. So it takes care of pointing that assembly back to the previous version. So I don't have to repoint that reference, which is really nice. So pretty robust rollback with references. Searching local files. This is important if you're using a lot of work offline features. So if I go to work offline for my vault, let me go ahead and pull this back up. So when you do a work offline, new text document, if you've added a file between working offline and working online, sometimes it's the vault doesn't know that you've added those files in your local cache. So you add a file and you see that I added that text file, but it's not showing up there. That's because I added it when I was working offline and it didn't add it to the database. So if I'm creating new files within the vault, now I can right-click within whitespace and say search local files, and it'll show me all the documents that I haven't yet added to the vault. So I want to add that new text document, and it goes through and adds that, and now I can check it in. So if you've ever encountered that where you're working offline, you add a new file, you can't see it, this new feature allows you to search through your local cache to find all those files that haven't quite been added to the vault yet. So that's a nice little feature for users that are doing a lot of work offline. And then client and server service pack compatibility. This is a really big one, especially for upgrades or service pack upgrades in particular. So what this means is that the major version of PDM, you don't have to upgrade the client every time that you upgrade the server. So for example, in this scenario, we've got the SQL server, the archive server, maybe a remote archive server, and then some clients. Normally how it works is you upgrade from 2016 or 15 up to 17. So you upgrade to SP0, servers on SP0, clients are on SP0. Previously, when you had to upgrade from SP0 to SP1, you'd have to upgrade the clients as well. With 2017, you can simply upgrade the server to SP1 and the clients can stay at SP0. So this is really relevant if you have a lot of users, for example. Let's say that you've got 20 or 30 users and IT is running an upgrade. This time you don't have to upgrade the clients, all 25 or 100 or 300 depending on how many clients you have. You don't have to upgrade all of those clients. You just upgrade the server and those new features, those new fixes are added onto the server itself. So you can continue upgrading the server to the next service pack without having any implications of having to upgrade clients. And that's major versions, so let's say that you're upgrading from 17 to 18, you'll still need to upgrade the clients to 18, but within 2017 or within 2018, within those major versions, you won't have to upgrade the service pack of the clients, which for large footprints of clients, even in the 12 range, it can be difficult to get everybody to upgrade their clients. So that's a super useful one, especially for us at Hawkridge who do a lot of upgrades for customers. It's a very helpful tool. So that was what was new in SOLIDWORks and SOLIDWORks PDM Standard and Professional. Those features go across both sets of software. Now we're going to move into what's exclusive to SOLIDWORks PDM Professional 2017. So these are things that relate to add-ins, automated tasks, the web server, replication, those kinds of things. And there's some really powerful new features in 2017 that I'm super excited about. There's now an ability to change the category. So if you've ever asked for that feature where you wanted to be able to switch the category for a file, you can do that now. There's controlled permissions for downloading from Web 2. This is another one that customers asked for within Web 2. Maybe you have a client that you want to have access to view files in the vault, but you don't want them downloading the files. There's now permissions that you can use to control that. You can now create 3D PDFs for SOLIDWORks MBD based on SOLIDWORks MBD templates using PDM Pro. So a file gets released, and then PDM Professional can automatically generate a 3D PDF for you based on your templates and your formats. The SOLIDWORks PDF task add-in has been upgraded so that now you can automatically create PDFs of Microsoft Office documents, whether it's Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Those can automatically generate PDFs just the same way that SOLIDWORks files did. And there's also a feature in there that allows you to automatically create DWG or DXF files. SOLIDWORks PDM Web 2 viewer enhancement. This is a really powerful one, especially if you have a lot of customers that are using Web 2. It allows them to view the SOLIDWORks files a lot easier. Previously, you had to have Internet Explorer only, and it had to have the ActiveX plugin for eDrawings. Now it's streamed via HTML5, so it doesn't matter if you have that. You can use it across all web browsers, which is super, super cool. And probably my personal favorite, is Vault Database Replication, which allows you to have a replicated database server in remote locations. This means that if you have high latency environments or slow performance in remote locations, like China is very common, or Italy, or some other location that has kind of a slow connection speed or a particularly high latency environment that causes PDM to kind of perform slow in remote locations. Now there's a database replication option where they can have a read-only database server in their local location, which is great. So changing the category of a file. So what's that all about? Let's go ahead and take a look at Windows Explorer here. So if I want to change the category of a file, previously once a file was checked in with a certain category, it stayed there forever. The intent was that you'd categorize documents via workflows, but now based on user requests, we have the feature available to change the category for files. So if I wanted to update this document from an engineering document and change the category to an ECO document, I can change that category now. So that is a new feature within PDM Pro 2017. And then controlling the download permissions for users and groups. So if you're using the Web 2 portal, well, if you're not, I would suggest checking it out, trying it. We use it internally to give access to people that don't have PDM and aren't going to be like our marketing folks that don't have a SOLIDWORKS PDM installation. You don't want to install any kind of client software. They can access the web server internally, and then if you have a remote user that wants to use it on a tablet or a mobile device, they can use the mobile version. So it comes up on their iPad or iPhone or what have you. So basically within the Web 2 interface, a lot of customers that were trying to give access to vendors or suppliers, but they didn't want to give download access, they just wanted a customer to view files within PDM. You weren't able to stop people from downloading the file in the first place. So now there is a permission within the web configuration file, so it's not within the admin tool itself, it's actually in the web config file. And if you need help finding that in 2017, you can call our support folks or send an email and they can help show you where that is. I don't want to take the time to dig into those folders right now, but just know that that exists, that you can prevent downloads for customers accessing the web portal, which is pretty cool. You can also generate 3D PDFs in using SOLIDWORKS MBD, and yeah, that's a new enhancement that was added with 2017. SOLIDWORKS PDF task add-in has been updated, so now there's official support to be able to create PDFs from Microsoft Office documents. And then if you want to create a PDF from DWG or DXF files, you can automate that within SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional. This does require DraftSite Professional or Premium just because it's accessing the API, which is only available for DraftSite Professional and Premium, but there is now capability to generate PDFs from your DWG or DXF files within SOLIDWORKS PDM as an automated task, just like you would with creating a PDF from a SOLIDWORKS drawing. Web 2 viewer enhancements. This is once again related to this web preview within the Web 2 viewer. So when you access a file and you look at it, it streams via HTML5, so it's actually opened any drawings on the back end. It's not opening in the web browser itself, which means that you don't have to have all of your users using Internet Explorer and have an eDrawings with ActiveX plugin installed, which makes it a lot easier. Basically, when the user browses, it doesn't matter what browser they're using. They go and look at the file. It populates an eDrawings preview so that they can rotate the model within their web browser without having extra little requirements for Internet Explorer and that kind of thing. So that's one that particularly excites me because I like being able to preview those without having that extra limitation. I just don't like Internet Explorer, so it works in Chrome and that makes me love it. Last one is a really big one, especially for some of the larger customer bases that have remote locations that are struggling with high latency environments. So what this does is if you already have a copy of SQL Enterprise, PDM Professional doesn't come with SQL Enterprise, it comes with SQL Standard, but a lot of customers that have these remote locations, your IT department might already have a copy of SQL Enterprise that you can use. And what that allows you to do is set up a remote database server. So how this works is, let's imagine a network scenario where you've got 3 different locations and everyone's accessing the same database server. So China's accessing the database server, maybe Italy's accessing the same database server, but they all have local cached copies of the archive files. So your assembly, your parts, your Word documents, those are all stored in the remote locations, but they're still reaching out to the location where the database server is in order to get that information. So if there's a delay getting that, the users will experience a slow performance. Now with SQL Enterprise, you can add a secondary database server to those locations. And that means that the local clients are accessing that database server for read-only operations. So if they need to browse the vault, look at data cards, run searches, all of that will be going to the secondary database for that information. And then when a user checks in a file or makes a change to a data card, that information will go to the database server. So it still communicates when it's writing information to the database, but a lot of the normal day-to-day activities within the vault, browsing for files, searching, looking at data cards, all of that read-heavy operations can be pushed off to the secondary database, which is much faster than going to the primary database, especially for those remote locations. Another thing that can be useful for Vault database replication is even if you have a single site that's using PDM and you've got a lot of users and there's a lot of heavy traffic to the SQL server, what you can do is do what's effectively load balancing on the server so that you can have two different database servers, one that does all of the read-only operations and one that does all of the write operations. So you have two database servers, one that handles all the read requests and one that handles all the write requests. And so that can help improve the performance of PDM just even with a single site that has SQL Enterprise. So that's a really powerful tool to be able to improve PDM performance even more. And this one really excites me, especially because we have a lot of customers that have those remote locations that need a secondary database server and they already have SQL Enterprise. So this is a huge upgrade in 2017 to be able to access that kind of replication. So in summary, these would be kind of based out of all of those enhancements that we've taken a look at. These would be the top 5, the ones that have the most effect on your day-to-day work. I'd say latest version overwrite, being able to reduce the number of copies of files that are getting checked into the archive server, and being able to reduce files that are being created during the workflow as well, updating revisions and those kinds of things and not creating duplicate, or not duplicate, but unnecessary revisions and versions. Rollback with references is a really big one, especially if you've had experiences with large assemblies with lots of references that need to get rolled back. This is a huge time saver. Vault database replication, I think this is huge for large installations as well as remote installations, being able to improve the performance drastically for PDM, especially with those high latency environments, particularly in China. And then the PDF tasks, those are a big one, being able to generate PDFs off of DWG DXF and being able to create PDFs from Microsoft Office, as well as creating 3D PDFs. There's a lot of improvements that have been added into the PDF tasks. And then a big one for upgrades and compatibility is being able to have your client and server on different service packs and still be compatible. That's huge for upgrades and fixes and those kinds of things. So those are my top 5 enhancements based on all of those new features within 2017. I think SOLIDWORks PDM 2017 is a really great release with a lot of new really cool features and functionality to save you time and improve performance and make the experience a lot smoother within PDM. So I want to thank you for joining our webinar today, the 3D Solutions Spotlight on SOLIDWORks PDM. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type those into the question interface. And if not, we'll look forward to seeing you at another webinar for SOLIDWORks 2017. And if you're interested in upgrading to 2017 but not sure you have time or the resources, then feel free to shoot me a message in the chat. We can talk about services that we have for upgrading that for you to take advantage of some of these new features.